everyone, and welcome back to Art a la Carte. And in this episode, I'm going to show you how to draw a cute little flowery fairy kind of thing. So let's get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to block out my basic design for the actual body structure of this little gal. And I'm going to do that just kind of representing with some shapes here. Actually, I'm going to turn my paper this way. So I'm going to put her head right here and use a circle for her head. And I'm just going to put in kind of her backbone coming down, and then her shoulders, and kind of just put everything as simply as I can. So you'll see everything is being, instead of drawing it out in detail, I'm just creating it with simplistic shapes and lines. Once I have her shape kind of drawn out, blocked in with some of these guidelines here, and again, I have a lot of videos that kind of show you how to build up guidelines for this. I'm not going to really go into that detail; it would be way too long of a video. But I'll put a link to those videos in the description box below, so you can check out how to draw this kind of stick figure out. But design her however you want the kind of position. So draw her as human first is what I would suggest. Don't worry about trying to get the wings drawn in there yet. But also I encourage you to think about your character as in overlapping things. So don't just have, your arms coming down straight and your legs straight. Think of how you can kind of have them working in front of things and bending and twisting. It just makes it a little bit more interesting, and it kind of helps you as an artist to challenge yourself to do a little bit more with your drawing. So after you get the stick figure in, then you can begin to build in the actual body structure, putting in a little bit more of the, like thickening out the arms and, putting in kind of the flesh and the muscles and things like that. So here you can see I have the bone structure now. I've kind of fleshed out with the muscles and all this, and it's all really messy, and I'm not worried about all my extra lines right now. I'm drawing really lightly. I know it looks dark. I'm probably pushing a little harder than I normally would on a regular drawing just so that the camera can pick it up. But just as long as you can see it, that's about how dark you want it, because you're going to end up erasing a lot of these lines. The thing I want to encourage is that you make sure that before you move on from this step that you like the position, that you like the sizing, that you're not like, oh, maybe that arm is looking a little bit too long, or this, this head's off a little bit in the shape. Make sure that the positioning and direction of where you want this drawing to go is where you want it before you move on to the next step, because this step is the easiest one to go back and fix things. But after you start really getting into some good detail and costume design and all that, then to go in and switch things up really can be quite a challenge. This is even a good time to kind of even block in kind of what you want the hair to be doing, and some of those ideas as well. You don't want to get into a lot of detail yet in this part, but just kind of give yourself some ideas. This is where it's good to play around with. So once you have the body positioning down, I would suggest going back in with an eraser and cleaning up some of the lines you don't need. Don't erase all the lines yet, but just kind of clean them up. So you can see that I really spent and worked out the position of the form first before going back in and adding in my costume or clothing design. This really helps me to know what the fabric is going to be doing, if I know what everything else is doing. If I know that this knee is going to come up, even if I were to give her a full-length gown, I know how the cloth is going to gather and fold, because I know what's going on with the body. Right now, before I really get in there and start cleaning up things, I'm going to go ahead and just lay in a really light design of what I want this costume to do. So I'm going to have a really just kind of very simple costume design here. I'm just going to kind of sketch that in just a little bit. She's going to be a bit of a flower fairy, so I'm going to I want to give her just a little bit of a kind of a flowery, gardeny design. So I'm going to take some ideas off of actual like flowers that I have. So I might give her just like a regular little top, and then maybe give her some just little petals for the dress and skirt. So then once I have this part down, now I can go back in and really get in some good erasing in there. So I know that this part of the leg and the body isn't going to be shown. So I can really kind of get in there and erase that out of there. A lot of people ask me, why sometimes do I use a regular plastic eraser and other times I use a gummy eraser? And I'm actually going to do a video tutorial talking about erasers and different types of erasers, but the quick answer is if you have some heavy duty erasing, I have some really strong lines that I kind of maybe pushed a little bit harder than I normally would, a plastic eraser is really going to get those out of there. A gummy eraser is great for the detailing work. This is going to very gently pull up some of your lead, but it's going to have a harder time if you've pushed darker. If you push harder on your paper, it's going to have a harder time with the darker leads. So for that, a plastic eraser is really going to be able to pull that up. Gummy eraser is a lot gentler on your paper, so you might want to keep that in mind as well. Okay, so because I've sketched in the form already, I can already see that this petal here is going to come up a little bit because this leg is bent up. So again, that kind of helps me in my design of my clothing. You want the clothing to be interacting with the body. It's going to help you to have a more interesting drawing. You can always, play it safe and, draw your arms and legs, straight. But if you want an extra little challenge, try doing that. Try, putting a bend to something or lifting an arm or a leg, and then how do things interact with that. Alright, so here I have kind of a rough sketch of the costume and the fairy's body. I'm going to go ahead and sketch in her wings just really lightly so I kind of get an idea to that. Then once everything is finalized the way I like it, then we can begin talking about some finer details. Alright, so at this point I'm going to do what a lot of people go, oh, what are you doing? Which is, I'm actually going to take my gummy eraser and I'm going to erase all of my lines to a point where I can barely see them. So why do I do that? Why do I draw a picture and then erase it to start over again? Well, as you can see, I'm not starting over again. I have just this very faint outline of my drawing. But all my messy lines are all cleaned up. The ones that I can see are the lines that I really picked out that I kind of went back over again, maybe pushed just a little bit harder so they'd stay. And now I can go back in with my precision pencil and begin to sketch in a real clean, crisp design. I really worked on getting my form out, so now I'm switching from looking at the form to really thinking about the line and the detail. And this is the part where you can spend an insane amount of time, and which I'm also going to do in time lapse, just because I don't want this video to be 5 hours long, which, could very easily take this much time with this kind of a drawing. So here we go. So there I have her all inked in and nice and all that. So I did a little bit of extra detailing with the micron for her face and for the flowers. But for the most of it I used my liquid stylus, and that gave me a nice thick line. Because I'm creating this as a coloring page, you kind of tend to want to have a little bit of a thick line in areas. I mean, it's okay to have a thin line. The thinner the line, the more challenging the piece is going to be, and I want this kind of to be not a super challenging coloring page, something fun that kids would want to color. So yeah, so this kind of sums up the actual drawing. So it kind of shows there, after I've let the ink dry for, you know, a good 10-15 minutes, then I'll go back in with my eraser and erase all of the lines out of there. The reason you want to give it a good 10 to 15 minutes is because you want to make sure that it's solidly dry. Solidly dry? Does ink dry solidly? Anyway, because I can't tell you how many pieces I have been impatient with and haven't waited for it to completely dry, went in to erase it and have smudged the drawing all up, and it's ruined. And I'm sad and I cry. So you want to make sure that it's really dry. Really, really. Also, you might want to think about like a background. So you could have, like, you know, some cool flowers and stuff like that, or, you know, a design or something, just to give it a little bit more interest, not just have this, you know, fairy just floating on this white background. So here I have the finished inked in drawing. I went ahead and took my eraser and erased the last of the pencil lines, and now it's up to the next part of the creation process, which is whatever you want to do with it. And I'll let you guys get on to drawing. So until next time, God bless you guys, and we'll see you later. Bye bye.